Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Depressed Dior, and this is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 16. So, not much to report. Almeda is completely maxed out on our inscriptions. I'm currently working on S16, which I've only maxed out like one other thing so far. Or I've maxed out both our weapon inscriptions, and I'll be working on the rest of that next. Not much else to say. As for the box I've been going against, it's I will not try to pronounce whatever that name is. It's 3 tanks, 2 healers. It looks like. Yeah, 3 tanks, 2 healers. There's a few passive heals here and there, but nothing too significant. I think Namiya there probably has the most. I was a little confused on exactly what to go for. I was definitely very concerned about Grenshield. Grenshield's been giving me a lot of issues this week, more than I care to admit. But for the most part, I've been not as worried about the Awakened anymore. So I've been kind of just letting my opponent have that if they want that. I mean, obviously the time swapping stuff can be very, very annoying, but in most cases I have ways to kind of mitigate it. Or just, cycle the debuff before it could do anything. I haven't seen Archon and Moon forever, and I don't really have a way of dealing with displacement at all at this point. The one person that can become immune to displacement is Lightbringer, who I rarely use now. So, went ahead and banned Archon and the Moon. And, yeah, we'll go ahead and get this started. Also, I tend to get player 2 very often, it feels like. I mean, there was a few situations where I was player 1 for a while, but a lot of those matches I tend to lose as well, so I can't even use that as an excuse. As for the rest of the box, it's a mixed box, which is definitely the thing I'm always comfortable with. Little bits of AoE, lots of physical, it looks like. Not too much magic, but they do have a lot of teleporting portal shenanigans to play around with, lots of long reach, a lot of the long legs here and there, so all the things I despise. So, lose Rose and Seal right off the bat. And they take Rose and Seal as an opener, which is really strange. I'm assuming they took it because I could ban all their healers, but I tend to assume that banning the healers is a trap because it will just give them more DPS. So I went and got rid of both Grenshield and Hilda at this point, so my opponent has to pick a tank if they want a tank, which I don't care either way if they have a tank or not. So go ahead and grab Christiane. I lose Almeda of all things and lose my Grenshield. And they take Lightbringer, so they did take a tank. So a standard healer tank opener. So at this point I kind of have full control over what I can get rid of. Landius is kind of a problem even as a second tank because of his aura. But honestly, I'm not that concerned about it. I was mostly concerned about the crit negation that Hilda can do. So I go ahead and get rid of Sword of Light and Shadow because she can definitely one-shot Christiane pretty easily. Got rid of Bernhardt because he also can one-shot. He can also negate heals, do a lot of fixed damage. And he can also faction buff Empire. So definitely wanted to get rid of all of that. Grab Liana. Because at this point I was down to 2 healers. I grabbed Liana. Which was, I think, a mistake I was making in some of my other matches, was I was not grabbing Liana as often as I should be when I had the time to pick her, because honestly her act again is really useful, especially with her exclusive. One thing I did find out, I didn't really notice until this week, is her exclusive generally gives the attack buff for only 2 turns, but it is influenced by the plushie. So the plushie accessory will actually make it 3 rounds, which was kind of neat. In any case, went ahead and got Liana. I did lose my Awakened one, lost Connie, and they go ahead and take Otto and Kelmo. So at this point, I'm actually not that concerned. It would have been kind of a concern, because, I mean, there's still act again, move again shenanigans they can do with portals here, but at this point I can mitigate majority of their physical damage. So I go ahead and get rid of Namiya, get rid of Karika. I felt like I can survive Leon if necessary, and Jed Toki is always a pain. But on this map, and with what they have set up so far, I feel like I could probably endure it. So I go ahead and grab Sylvaria. So Sylvaria works really well with Liana, thanks to the exclusive buff that happens when she does act again. I lose Eshian, I lose Tatalia. They grab the Awakened one. So at this point, I'm pretty comfortable with this. I did one thing to notice is they do have a bunch of holy classes and they do have Lightbringer, so they do have faction buff coverage for the most part. But it's all magic. And I have Christiane, and I can get Angels, so it's not that dangerous. And so I was like, alright, I'll get rid of the rest of your physical, and you can either take an Act Again healer, or possibly a Gospel immunity, or you can take Landius, which honestly Landius will probably be the bigger pain because of the ranged damage negation and the reduced crit rate. I go ahead and grab Pyrotes. I wasn't exactly sure what my opponent was going to go for. I am spread a bit thin as far as buffing attack is concerned, but I felt like I didn't really want to go straight into Lycoris, because honestly Lycoris by herself was just going to be kind of redundant. And I didn't really want to be full defensive against a bunch of magic damage when I don't need to. So I was like, alright, I'll just play it by ear. I'll grab Pyrotes, and worst case scenario is I'll have to rely on like Liana or something to throw out a 3C or something to keep both of them buffed. But conveniently, they left me with Kagura and Lycoris here, and Lycoris is a dark faction buffer, so they take Liana, and I take Lycoris. I was very tempted to, when setting up for this, was to make Lycoris kind of a semi-offense, you know, with her dark transformation, but with the faction buff and stuff, I really did not have the points to spare, but I'll talk about that in a bit. Anyway, we got Awakened one here. Has Poison Bat Mages, which are generally good at single target and can do additional debuffs. Did go with 3C and the swap, but also went with Doom Oracle, which is our single target shot, which can do pretty good damage, but isn't going to be that dangerous against Christiane. I got Rose and Seal here with Shrine Maidens. She does have the she doesn't have a badge equipped, but she does have that ring that gives plus. Let me take that back. She has some sort of accessory that negates fixed damage. I just don't know which one it is. It's either the ring that gives intelligence, or there's also, I think, a healing item that gives plus healing and negates fixed damage. Lightbringer here is showing off the Fanguards. I believe Christiane also has access to Fanguards as well. So this is one of the new troops that came out recently. They have buffed up HP and attack. And whenever entering battle with a melee attack, they reflect 20% damage received back to the attacker. And after battle, they recover a percentage of max HP equal to up to 1 times the damage reflected in this battle. So it's well, actually, I think it's equal to the 100% of the damage that was reflected. So this is generally kind of a way of trying to counter the various tank busters that are going to be gradually coming out. Overall, I don't think the units I kind of want to try, but honestly, they don't help with tanking. They're mostly kind of there. I feel like they're kind of just there for being slightly more offensive oriented, making your tanks into bruisers. I guess the other possibility is just to ensure you do some sort of damage to some of the tank busters when they hit you. That way they're not at 100%, so you can bypass last rites or something. But they do look cool, so there's that. They also are infantry. Anyway, Auden Kelmo here has who has the latest skin, I believe, has the Fairy Spirit Prophets, and this one is 3C Fireball and Deflection. So Fireballs would be dangerous if it was anyone but Christiane, but magic troops with a magic character versus angels, they have a lot of punching to do if they want to make that fireball actually do anything. Liana here did go with Windbloom Chanters and has 3C heal and act again. Not much else to say. Yeah, and Rose and Seal's full heals with Shrine Maidens. Alright, Sylvaria here, standard kit. I went with Disarm and have Deck Gunners. I of course got the range bow. Lycoris here, like I mentioned, I kind of opted for the dark faction buff, which is pretty useful for characters like Pyrotes. And it also buffs herself, and it counts as targeting herself, so that makes it so she will give herself immunity for a couple of rounds as well, thanks to her inscription. I went with Mass Heal and Mass Protect. The Protect is not really there for the defense, it's mostly there for the negate healing debuff. Because there is a possibility of being just wailed on here with a bunch of AoEs. Though that was the assumption I was going off of, but it looks like my opponent decided to focus more on single target, which honestly is kind of the undoing here. I do have Liana here with Windbloom Chanters, same kit as my opponent. Just comparing and contrasting. Hers is actually a little tankier than mine. Yeah, she's a little bulkier than mine. Neat. And then we got Pyrotes. Went with Forest Night Elves. Honestly, unfortunately, Pyrotes has not been getting very many favorable new troops lately. But she does have Quick Step. She has her 3C and she has her Sly Stride. That's about it. She does have the range bow, so her 3C is actually 4 range, which is pretty good. And I did confirm that the range bow does work when you take 3 steps. So I think that last week's match, it was just me being dumb and clicking the wrong skill. Alright, with all that said and done, let's go ahead and dive right in. So opening right off with some portals. So at this point, everyone's favorite game of counting squares. If I go right here with Silvaria, I can go, let's see, that's 3, 6, 9, 10. So I can be within range of Autumn Kelmo with the range bow. But the key thing here is if I try to set up now, there's a chance my opponent will be cheeky and do a swap with Autumn Kelmo with Awaken 1 and just move away, in which case then my attempt will be useless. I do have an Act Again and I am player 2, so I will not lose any tempo if I were to take advantage of that. Not only that, my Act Again will actually make her more damaging with her shots. So for right now, I just took it easy. I went ahead and opened with some faction buffs. What's really nice is with the Chorus's exclusive item, and the fact that she's almost always going to have a faction buff of some sort on her. She gets to reduce her cooldowns really quickly, which is really nice. She cycles through everything like just blazing fast. Alright, just doing some buffing here. Alright, like I said, I'm just seeing what my opponent's doing right now. Just playing it safe. Alright, Act Again's been used. So at this point, I go ahead and get set up. But I'm not going to do the Act Again yet until I'm absolutely certain that I have a shot. My opponent's, of course, getting all the crystals up. I did go ahead and pass turn beside here just to see if I can get the proc on to Silvaria, which I did. So the King's Crown did provide plus 20% damage, just in case. And my opponent opted to just move up and put Spellbound up. So I do have Spellbound on 2 of my units. Pyrotes has the ability to Act Again with her Quick Step, so she can easily shut it if necessary. And honestly, there's no danger. She can't get in range to actually do the swap if necessary. And she did get a breeze proc, but it's not enough. So I'm actually completely safe with this Spellbound here. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and do Act Again. Alright, and just to show that this buff here, 20% attack and intelligence, it should be 2 rounds, but it's 3 rounds thanks to the plushie. Alright. It's mixed class here, so I'm guaranteed to do damage, and she doesn't have the hat that restores HP. So any 100% buffs have been broken, and I do 29,000 versus her like 14,000 HP because I went straight to hero. All right, so again, just passing turns and seeing what my opponent does. My opponent gets pretty aggressive here. So at this point I was like, I don't know exactly what skills you have. I noticed that you don't have a skill buff, so there's a chance that you might not have fixed damage immunity, but I have no way of knowing unless I try. So I go ahead and try. This is also just a good opportunity to get rid of the Spellbound. So, yep, sure enough, immune to fixed damage. And since she has matching troops, Twilight Stars won't do anything. Still did pretty good damage despite the Shrine Maidens. Yeah, for those who aren't aware, Shrine Maidens will provide 75% physical reduction to just the hero if they happen to have 100% HP. So that's why they tend to be pretty tanky against a lot of assassins, as long as you have a way of preventing the fixed damage. Still did pretty good damage, and I'm actually not too worried about wasting the 3C here. So here's the swap here. I'm not exactly sure what the goal here is, but I have a cooldown of 3 turns with Dark Thorn, but every time I do any sort of support effect from Liana, the Windbloom Chanters will reduce this by a turn. And then she's going to get quick step back soon, so she's going to be in really good shape in a second to do another assassinate. So 3C against 4 targets, so it does like 2 or 3 hits on each of them. Does do some status effects here and there. The chorus was immune to all status effects, and the only one that got heal immunity was Pyrotest, because she cycled through her buffs real quick. But the combination of the healed spell itself and the terrain ensured that she got rid of it and got a little healing anyway. So, it all works out. Alright. So currently, Liana is actually out of range. So I go ahead and take a step back to make sure I'm within kill range. And I have a clear shot at either... I can either go after Rosenseal, which we've already proven that she has fixed damage immunity, so I won't be able to kill her. But Liana doesn't have Shrine Maidens. She does have Windbloom Chanters, but that's not a big deal either. So, get set up there. I'm going to go ahead and cast Heal on Pyrotest, just purely to cycle cooldown, and give her 100% health back. Alright, Strengthen on her. Not really necessary, because she's already maxed out on her faction buff. Alright, so I just need to do, like, I don't know, 28,000. Actually, sorry, I only need to do about 15,000, because it's directly to the hero. There you go. 26,000 there, which kills. So it's 3 on 5 now. And I'm getting hit with her exclusive skill here, Doom Oracle. That was a crit, by the way, and it didn't even do 8,000 damage. That's how crazy angels are when they're maxed out and at full HP. Get hit with some spellbounds. The area heal I did earlier was centered on Christiane, so she was immune to all debuffs, so the spellbound didn't do anything to her whatsoever. It did get applied to Pyrotest, but she'll be able to get rid of it soon. And at this point, Awakened One's stuff is all on cooldown, including her talent. She's also within 5 spaces of Silvaria, so she's starting to take as her realm ticks of damage, which is actually kind of helpful. It actually does count towards the damage counter. So my opponent just being near me is going to give me damage. Alright. So I'm just cycling through turns right now. So my biggest concern right now is I don't want to accidentally kill the Awakened One too soon, because that will refresh all of her cooldowns, and if I happen to be spellbound, she can do a swap and then isolate me and then kill me. I do go ahead and do 3C on Silvaria just to get her attack buff active again, because I'm not sure when I'm going to actually have another Actikin available. So I'll get a hit here with some physical damage, which does much better because angels aren't as good against physical. But I'm completely okay with that. I'm in healing terrain right now, so I will get some health back. And I go ahead and do, you know, the attack bloom here just to do a little extra damage. Oh, actually, sorry, I'm not in healing terrain right now. But my opponent doesn't actually have any attack spells left, so if my opponent hits me, I'm fine with just taking it. So at this point, I go ahead and do Mass Protect. Reapply the immunity, get some terrain out. At this point, I'm just trying to force my opponent to cycle through their turns, because I have 5 units and they have 3. And I have an Act Again available right now, so at this point, I'm just trying to get... my target here is actually not the Awakened One, because she's just going to come back. My goal is to kill Rosenseal here, so to do that, I need to do some damage to her, and then get someone with Assassinate in. So right now I have Pyrotest with Quick Step, which will give me access to Dark Thorn. She has her... she has full buff on her... what do you call it? Faction buff there. I just buffed Silvaria just to maximize her damage as much as possible. So all I need to do is get her set up to do some damage. I don't need to do max range stuff. I just need to do some damage to the Shrine Maidens and to ensure that the Crystal Healing afterwards doesn't change anything. So I act again, and I go ahead and use this opportunity to shoot with my 3C. I'm super close range, so I'm doing a lot less damage. But as long as I do some damage and she doesn't go back to 100%, that's all that matters. And sure enough, does pretty good damage. So it does hit the troops. She gets healed back a little bit, but not enough. So I go ahead and Quick Step. Cycle my buffs. Hit from 4 range there. No protection from Shrine Maidens. More than enough to kill. Alright, so at this point my opponent just has the Awakened one, who has everything on cooldown, and the Lightbringer. My opponent was being somewhat cheeky and trying to block me out, but at this point I have so many troops, it doesn't matter. There's no way that I'll be boxed in. It's still very annoying because I kind of have to shuffle around and make sure I stay within 2 range. But overall, I'm not that concerned at this point. It's just I gotta take my time. Again, I'm just taking advantage of the fact I have the numbers, so I'm just letting my opponent pass turns. I go ahead and reapply my faction buff, even though I don't really need to. But it does reapply my immunity if I need it. Get hit with normal attack, which is just not going to do anything. Yeah, as you can see, it just doesn't do anything. I'm also immune to debuffs right now, thanks to Langrisser. And in any sort of 100% buff, I'm just breaking over and over again, thanks to Savaria. So, healing Pierrotess to cycle her cooldowns faster. Alright, get that going. And then I'm going to go ahead and just use this opportunity to push in. I can attack at 3 range here, so I go ahead and just force this attack here. Just to do some extra damage. So here's a disarm here. Kills most of the troops. As you can see, I'm like 3 times ahead in the damage right now. So Vanguards here. I do have the bloom active, so I have first strike. So I kill the rest of the troops. And take 1500 damage. She does heal quite a bit, thanks to the reflection and all that. So, Mass Protect here. This is just to ensure that Savaria doesn't get a spellbound on her, just in case. Like I said, I'm being super careful. I had a lot of losses recently. So again, getting hit with a normal attack is just not going to do anything. And sure enough, spellbound, and doesn't apply to Savaria because she's immune. Alright, so at this point, I cycle through my buffs, so I went ahead and do Quick Step again. I do stay within Christiane's aura just to reduce the damage. She does have a Reflect Ring, so Reflected proc here. Assassins do attack much faster, so thankfully I can get the hit in before she does too much counterattack damage. Most of the damage that was dealt was actually dealt from the Reflection. At this point I go ahead and shuffle forward. I was actually completely okay with this. I know Langrisser is kind of already acted, so she's currently vulnerable. But at this point, I don't really need to worry too much about it. All I have to do is just kind of cycle my turns until Pierrotess is ready again. So it's not too big of a deal. So she comes back. She has reduced buffs now. Does Dimensional Shift so she can get her faction buff active. I'm immune to all buffs, or all debuffs. Again, immune to all debuffs. The other one got applied to Pierrotess, which is fine. Gets her faction buff. And I was expecting a 3C here, but instead my opponent opts to do Doom Oracle, which is not enough at full HP. I don't know if 3C would have done enough, but it certainly would have done a lot more, I feel like. I think 3C would have been a safer bet. Not only would it have been a safer bet, it would have, if it had gotten killed, it would have done 2 more spellbounds, which could have been applied to, like, I don't know, Liana and somebody, I guess. But at this point, I was like, okay, well, you did that, and I can go ahead and just move up, and now I'm in guard range again. Also, I've trapped their Lightbringer at this point. Opts to do Strengthen, which doesn't do anything, just passes turns. Lightbringer is getting some passive healing because of her Inscription. Inscription talent makes it so as long as she has 5 stacks of Mirror Light, she can heal passively based off her intelligence. So at this point, Pierrotess moved up, and then I had Liana go in and do Act again here, and this will finish things off. I actually do more damage in this to myself in this one, simply because her stats are lower, so my attacks do more, and so I do take more damage. So yeah, as you can see, I took more damage as a result because of the reflection. And yeah, quite the match. Definitely love the teamwork between Pierrotess and Savaria there. They did nearly equal damage, and Pierrotess got a little ahead in the kills there. And as you can see here, I was just kind of I didn't even tank that much damage. It's just, and I did a lot of just healing that was unnecessary, just from passively things. Yeah, their units just couldn't do anything. Their only other DPS was Arden Kelmo, which I shot down really quick. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and call it here. I am the Depressed Eeyore. This was Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 16, and I'll see you guys next time.